Hi everyone, sorry it's taken me so long to do my next little video for you, but as you've all been giving me so much abuse on the computer saying when's your next video out, I thought I better get it done before you lot start sending me death threats. So this one I'm going to do for you on pole elastic and the way I attach my rig to my elastic. So starting off with the elastic, the only elastic I use is hydro. It's like anything in life, you get what you pay for. Done. So, starting off with the lightest in the range, which is yellow, this elastic is the creme de la creme of winter skimmer fishing. If you're going to do that sort of style of fishing, then this is the one to use. It's just so nice, it's so soft and forgiving, and you know, when you're fishing a long way and you're looking at your little float, and you know, every bite is almost feels like a miracle to get it. You know, when it goes under and you whack it and it just stays there and just slowly swims out of the peg, you just know that that's the best it's ever going to be in terms of the speed of being able to go back in and hook another one, because you haven't upset what's in your peg. You know, especially when it's winter time and the water's clear, you know, if they flash, you know, they're so spooky at that time of the year. You know, you really have got to give a lot of thought to the elastic you use, and for me there's only one, and that's that bad boy. So on to the next one, and I'm going to talk about two, which is the pink and the blue one. Now, up until this year, I never actually used the pink one. I only ever used the blue one. The blue one, in my opinion, it was like, well, I don't need no other one. And it was a chance conversation with a good friend of mine, Tommy, Mr. Hillier. He was doing a lot of skimmer fishing at the time, you know, catching 40, 50 pound, and he was saying that, you know, he just used the pink one. And I was like, really? You know, he was like, I'm telling you, it's the one to use. Now, I don't like changing. You know, I'm very like, you know, once I've found something I like, I don't want to listen, but there's a handful of people out there that when they talk, I listen. So I took it on board. So I done a couple of top kits and took them down to Cornwall with me. And on the first day I was on Jenny's Lake and started off with my blue, my normal setup, and I'm catching some skimmers, and I've had one jump, and it's a bit like, I don't normally do that style of fishing at that time of the year, so elastic choice, I'd never really been in that sort of scenario before. And so I thought, right, I'll get up and have a go with the pink. So I put my rig on it, marked the depth, dropped it in, float's gone under, I've whacked it, and it's just like, just swim out my peg, and it's just like, I knew that. Just knew immediately what I had was no good for that given day, for that style of fishing at that time of the year. That was the elastic to use, and I used it all that week. And I honestly believe that if I didn't have that elastic, I wouldn't have caught and landed as many as I did. And on Jenny's Lake, I've hooked 8 carp, one were foul hooked, and when you hook them, you just know immediately it's carp just from like the weight of once you've hooked it. And you just pick up my 6 section like in my tulip, push it together, just follow it out, just let it mill around, come back in, and I landed every single one of them, even the one that was foul hooked. And then after that, it was just like, I wish I'd taken another top kit down with me, to be honest, because when I used it at Tree Waters, you know, with like an hour to go, and you know, you get your first bite on the pole and whack it, you know, big F1s and some little carp, I just knew I was never going to get snapped. And I just knew as well in the fact of like when you hook them and the way they go out of the peg, you just know that you're leaving the peg as best as you could have, if you know what I mean, in terms of they're not jumping and twisting and giving it all of that in the peg. You know, you just hook it and it just swims out so nice in the peg. And especially, you know, it's windy down there as well, so the odd gust pulling it, you're not pulling the hook out. So that one, you know, after, you know, that week sort of thing, you know, definitely had a place, or sold on that. Now, that's not to say that I don't use the blue one, because I know when I go down in October, when, you know, you're really going to be caning some silvers, when you're looking to catch somewhere between 40 and 60 pound of them, the blue, that is the one to use, because it's got the guts behind it. You can swing, you know, 6, 8 ounce ropes and really get on with it. Whereas if you use the pink one, you'd have to net them, and it's just not that type of fishing. So again, tailoring it to the given day and the given target weight and what you're fishing for, that is definitely, you know, one thing that I want to touch on. Again, since I've come back from Cornwall, with the pink one, I've actually used it at Barston, you know, and that's really, really nice for that sort of 3.5, 4 foot deep, fishing for skimmers, mainly skimmers with some F1s and maybe an odd carp. You know, that's lovely for that. But again, if it was Barston and it was like 5 foot, 6 foot deep, then I'd look to use the blue one. So again, it's just finding, you know, the right one for the given situation. On to the next one. I don't think this bad boy needs any introduction. I'm pretty sure everyone who goes pole fishing, you know, match pole fishing, has used this, you know, over the years. It is, you know, cult status as such, you know, white hydro, white and black, you know, they were the first two that come out, and they're probably still the, you know, the most popular ones, you know, even now sort of thing. White was, you know, again, that happened on a chance conversation with, you know, my sharing partner and the superstar that is Mr. Writing, said to me, like, have you tried the grey one? And up until that point I just used white. I used white, blue and black, and then red for down the edge. And I was a bit like, well, no. But again, not really wanting to listen because I was happy. I'd never felt like I needed to change, but again, he's one of them people that, you know, when he suggests something, if it's right for him, it's going to be a very good chance it's going to be right for you too. So basically, everything that I used white for in terms of fishing shallow for carp, fishing on the bottom for carp, now I use grey. And the only thing I actually use white for now is when I'm fishing through me short kits, which is basically a short third. I think that I was selling as shallow top kits. So it's basically a short third section, a number 2 section. So when I'm fishing shallow for F1s, in shallow water for F1s or places like Tunnel, then I use white, and that, you know, they're just in them kits. I don't have them in my long top 3s anymore. So what I did use white for, I now use grey for. So if I'm fishing shallow for carp, fishing on the bottom for carp, you know, when I'm fishing for sort of up to 100, 120 pound, I'd pick grey. You know, regardless of the size, but you know, up to £10 I would pick grey. You know, if they're not big and they don't bother me, but if they're all big uns, then obviously, you know, I think you'd have to use black. But, you know, very much tailoring it again to, you know, the given target weight, how many fish you're looking to expect to catch. And the one thing that I like about grey is it's very, very similar to white in the fact of when you hook one, you know, a very similar amount comes out. But the one noticeable thing with grey is, apart from, you know, white, and I'm sure it's, well, it is the same for all of them as they get stronger, is, you know, you've got to remember that we're using puller kits now. You know, before we never had them, so the length of the elastic you actually played the fish on when it comes to netting range was all of it, because you'd be putting your 4th or your 5th section on. Whereas now, you've only ever got like 3 or 4 foot hanging out. So when it's underneath the pole top, you know, that 3 or 4 foot has got to still be stretching. If you understand what I mean, it's got to be forgiving in terms of like you're playing it, and it can't be undergunned for the given situation for how many fish and the size that you're looking to catch. So for most of it now, like that would be my choice in terms of grey when I'm looking to catch sort of up to 100, 120 pound. With an odd skimmer, you know, or bream, few roach or something, then I'd look to use grey. And again, where I'd look to use white for fishing for F1s, you know, big F1s, I use grey now. I just find it perfect, to be honest. So obviously the next step up from grey would be black. Again, like the white one, you know, cult elastic, everyone uses it, everyone still uses it, and I can't blame them, it is a brilliant elastic. The one thing that I really, really like black for is when I'm fishing down the edge, like long down the edge, and when I'm fishing for what I call hooking them for fun. You get places and certain pegs like Belingi. I was very fortunate enough to draw me absolute rats off there. I drew 36 and 38, and they live there, and you are literally just going to hook them for fun. And again, what I was talking about in terms of the stretch from when you're playing them, I know with black that when I'm playing it, no matter how much I pull it, it's always going to be stretching. So I'm always looking after the hook hold and bad angling on my behalf, and I know that's going to happen. You know, I know my angling weaknesses, and once I've caught 10 or 12, you know, my patience gets less and less and less in the fact that I hook it, and all I want to do now is get it in that net now. I don't want to be playing it. I get fishing Tourette's. Come here, you little, do you know what I mean, when you're gritting your teeth and you're like, come here. So with black, that covers me for all of my angling mishaps in terms of trying to pull too hard. And I know that it's always going to be stretching, and those days, you know, those 2 matches, which was 10 hours, and I've caught just under 450 pound of fish, I think I lost, well, yeah, 3 fish maybe, and you know, probably foul hooked. And if I'd have used any other elastic where I can pull it and lock it out, if you know what I mean, I know I'd have lost a lot more than that. So when you're hooking that many fish to lose that many, and I'm pretty sure they were foul hooked as well, you know, he's brilliant. So onto the next elastic in the thing is purple. 3 of the, you know, if you had a list of the top 10 anglers in the country, number 1 by a million miles, obviously William, and then not a million mile behind, Mark Goddard and Mr. Tommy Hillier. They choose to use purple when they're fishing down the edge and when they're fishing, you know, dobbing for them. But for me personally, again, it's just about tailoring it to what you like using. For me, after black, there's only one, and that's this bad boy, red. I remember when I first got given some of this, and it was just like, I ain't putting that in my pole. You know, that's just catapult elastic. I mean, it's like licorice, isn't it? It's so thick. It's like having a pole inside your pole, and I just thought, I can't use that. But when you're fishing down the edge and when you're dobbing for them, it's the only elastic to use. You know, yeah, it might be thick, but again, it's soft. You know, it's thick but soft. When you're hooking them down the edge, you know, you hook them, and I just said it's soft, you know, so it just creeps back in. So when I hook them, you know, I know I'm going to get a metre or so come out immediately, and then if it wants to run off, it can, but it's also going to power up. And also, again, with a puller kit, you know, when you haven't got that much elastic out, and they're going to be big, the ones that you hook dobbing, they're going to be great big units, and the ones that you catch down the edge, they're going to be great big ones. So when you're playing them, you know, you do need that controlled stretch, if that sort of makes any sense, in the fact that, you know, the bigger they are, you know, the thicker the elastic, if you know what I mean, in terms of not locking it out. So when you're playing them, and you know, and you really, even when you're trying to pull it, the elastic is doing the job for you in terms of preserving that hook hold. So those are the elastics I use. That's why I use them. Yeah, it's just about finding out, you know, which ones suit your style of fishing, but hopefully that gives you, you know, a little bit of advice sort of thing as where to start. So that's the elastics covered. Right, the next thing I want to talk about is how to actually attach your line to your elastic. And the vogue thing, and it has been for a while now, is to be using Dacron. And again, a good friend of mine, Mr. Hillier, Mr. Paul Hillier, Tommy, has showed me a way of attaching it without Dacron. And he showed me, I don't know, it's got to be 3 years ago when he showed me. And since then, everyone that I've showed, that's how they have it set up now. It is, you know, brilliant. It's all the benefits of Dacron without any of the disadvantages. And basically what it is you've got overhand knot on your elastic, and then you've got a little bead. So to attach your line, we've got a slider. To attach your line to your elastic, got some line. I've already tied a loop. Got to think ahead in this game. So just as you would attach to your Dacron or your crow's foot, just overhand loop it so that it butts up this side of the knot. You can see there. And then get your bead, wet it, and just slide it over that knot. And as you can see there, it's exactly the same as Dacron in the fact that it hangs away from the pole. So when you're slapping, you know, it ain't going to be able to wrap round the end of your pole. So pop that off, trim that. And another brilliant thing about this is wastage, and what I was saying to you earlier about, you know, getting your elastic set right so it's soft. With Dacron, the amount you have to lose of your elastic to be able to change, to put a new knot, a new Dacron, with this you literally lose, you know, a centimetre of your elastic. So just say, like, I got that out and I was going to put my line on it and thought, hang about, that knot looks a bit ropey, I need to change that. So literally just by tying a tiny overhand knot in that, loosen it down, you'll be able to see I've literally lost the tiniest amount of elastic to be able to have a brand new knot. So just by trimming that off again, just leaving a couple of mil the other side of the knot, and that's it, done. So my elastic, in terms of once I've put it in and it's new and I've trimmed it down until right, that's set, perfect, I know that it's going to last so much longer in my pole, because I'm never going to lose that much every time I need to change the knot where it takes the most hammering. So the bead that I use is a swivel stop bead. They're made by Drennan. Bad boys there. And they come in 3 sizes, a small, a medium and a large one. I only use the small one for my yellow hydro and a medium one for pink all the way up to black. For red I just use the crow's foot. I don't think I'll be slapping with red somehow. That'd be a bit frightening, wouldn't it? So to get it onto me elastic, one thing I will say is when you do first get them, the hole is quite small. So when it's perfect for like pink, blue, white, but when you're fishing with like grey and black, I've got like a little tool here. It's just a pointed end. So what I can do is just put it in the small hole, and where it's rubber, you know, quite hard rubber as well, you can just wind it in there slowly and just like enlarge that hole slightly. So that way, when you put it over your elastic, you know, it's actually going to move. You know, you don't want it sliding up and down, you want it to be on there, but you don't want it so when you pull it, it's really hard to pull that bead, you know, over that knot. So it's easy to get, you know, onto your elastic. So basically you've got a thin end and a fat end. So you put it through the thin end first on your diamond eye threader. I've only just got a little bit because it saves all of the loop, and you know you're only just going to have a meltdown with it. So if I cut my elastic off, so say that was my elastic that I've just threaded through, so simple, you know, just put your, oh, I've got some of the liquid in it. That ain't nice. So you put your diamond eye threader over it, over your elastic like that, and then literally just slide the bead on. And we're just wetting it, pop it on, and that's it, it's on. There, like that. And then, you know, as before, so you're just doing an overhand knot. Try not to get any of the liquid in my mouth because that didn't taste too clever. Trim it off, and that's it, done. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and I'm telling you, you get a lot less breakages, it's a lot easier, and it's the maintenance of it. You know, you can, every time you attach your rig, you're going to be able to look and think, yeah, it's perfect. You know for them 5 hours it ain't going to snap. And with Dacron, you wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, I know some people even try and sleeve their elastic to try and make it last, and it just ain't the way. I'm telling you, do it this way, and it'll definitely improve the life of your elastic in terms of, you know, trimming it. You're only going to ever use lose a little bit, and also you're never going to have that meltdown moment where you've hooked a great big and it's swum off and snapped you at the Dacron. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully it won't take me as long to do my next video for you. Until then, I hope you catch plenty when you're out next. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.